Welcome to the Northport Arts Coalition Poets Import. We are a family-friendly, I can't speak English, but you know, it's a family-friendly venue. And I always invite my former students who are, some of them are still in the high school. And I'm hoping that they come, but you never know. So I'm going to start with, Scott gave me a bio and he also gave me something that might be a good introduction. But I'll tell you, I met Scott through SPOFest and I came to appreciate his passion for his students to the point that he, as in his role as superintendent of schools, he was running a poetry class in the morning with a group of kids that were, I guess the safest thing to say is at risk, right, Scott?
Yes.
On a good day, they were at risk. And so we formed a bond over that because, Scott's the kind of teacher that goes to the mat for his kids, and so am I. And I mean, I know that goes for many of you, but Scott's featuring, so I'm talking about Scott. So I will also tell you, I don't know another superintendent of schools that could do what Scott did. So let me tell you about Scott. Scot Young herds goats with the sweetheart of the rodeo on an Ozark County ridgetop farm. He is a retired construction worker, a retired teacher, and a retired school superintendent. He has taught from 9th grade to graduate school. His first book, Around Cowboy, was then followed by American Haiku, both published by Spartan Press. On January 1st, his latest collection, They Said I Wasn't College Material, was released by the Roadside Press. So you can see, this is All Around Cowboy by Scot Young.
And Linda, that happens to be me on the cover and my lovely wife.
Well, I know that because I follow you on Facebook and I check your pictures because I love your sense of humor.
But it was in 1980, I believe.
Yeah, I could tell there's a danger mouse under that hat. I could tell. And then these are the Second Chance Breakfast Club, which was poems put together by the kids. So this very unusual superintendent, I would love to get him here to meet our new superintendent, because I think they could make incredible strides together. But we'll talk more about that, Scott, at another time. So he gave me a possible introduction, and he calls it Song of Myself, which of course is appropriate in Whitman country.
Yes.
So it's Song of Myself. In 1960, Scot Young watched Hopalong and Amp, Roy Rogers on a green naugahyde sofa, Hopalong, Roy Rogers on a green naugahyde sofa, stitched in cowboys, bucking broncos, complete with wagon wheel arms on Saturday mornings. On Saturday mornings, he cocked his Red Ryder rifle before ARs and AK, before the country went to hell in a hate basket, when the good guys always won. So, I also watched Hopalong and all the rest of those morning Westerns and loved it. Everything had to have fringe and often still does. So the way that this is going to go is Scott's going to read from 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll have an open mic, and then I'll bring Scott back for an encore. So ladies and gentlemen, Scot D. Young.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
It's still
Okay, because I'm in the Missouri Ozarks, which is and we live in the woods, so our reception is not, the best. I'm going to start off reading a few poems from All Around Cowboy. And I write about things that I see every day. So there's sometimes there's a deeper story behind it, but pretty much no, it's just there. This poem is called Valentine Love Story. The guy who fixed my furnace today told me how he lost his wife 9 years ago at age 40, left him 3 children, and how it took 7 dang years for the cancer finally win the war. About how they met at age 12 in small town USA, how they climbed trees and built forts stretched out on the ground watching clouds, grew up together in love, holding hands, about how his best friend still is. That her last words that day were hold me. And he did, still does. I asked him if he ever remarried. He looked at me and said, nah, how could I ever find someone like her? And went back to fixing my furnace. Sometimes I wish I could take words back. Next is one Thanksgiving we volunteered at the local VFW. This is called After the Game. Thanksgiving dinner is over at the local VFW, packed with old vets smoking non-filters and Swisher sweets, swirling lonesome ice in highball glasses. The Lions game is over, as well as the yelling and cussing. John Prine plays on the jukebox, the speed of the sound of loneliness. Sam Stone came home, kicked off the quiet. Big Jim said he is thankful for the other guys. It is early, and the remembering has just begun. This one, my brother died on 9/11. It wasn't the 9/11. My brother was 10 years my senior, and he had severe dementia that finally took its toll. See if I can get through this because it's still kind of tough. It's called The Son Too Embarrassed for Mike. I heard when Johnny Cash died that Dylan said he was the North Star that you could guide your ship by. I remember you shifting through the gears of your midnight green 65 Chevelle, Mickey Thompson Megs on the way to Mugs Up to see your best girl. And how you always did the right thing, playing it safe, never taking risks, never going head on into that good night. And I remember how multiple wives and roommates each altered your DNA just enough before cleaning you out. How each one chipped away at you till there was only dust. I can tell you it was good weather for a funeral. The sun too embarrassed to show its face. But it is never a good day except for those that cashed in and stood graveside, blank-faced, with hands in their pockets. And you know that girl from Mugs Up was the only one to speak when asked for comments. She broke the quiet awkwardness and said you had the best smile and stopped, left it at that. But I knew there was more that wasn't said. Hiding behind sunglasses and fighting tears, I remembered the way you laughed the most. Walking to the car when everyone promised to keep in touch, I repeated in my head, hoping you could hear. Growing up, you were not Johnny Cash. Okay, this book is really it's a memoir, and it actually begins at conception and it goes to probably planning my own death. And that poem will be up in a minute. This poem here, when I was about 18, I worked in a dinner playhouse in Kansas City, and I was the custodian. I cleaned the toilets and I swept up after everybody left. And during that time, I got to meet an extraordinary person, and this is for her. It's called Gone with the Wind, Butterfly McQueen. I met Miss McQueen in '74, and she was on stage in KC in a starring role. And I cleaned up after the dinner show, and all the money went home. She told me once that I would do great things. I told her I wanted to go into construction. Shaking her head, she had the biggest smile. She said that was not what she saw. She said she didn't care for streets paved with gold and never believed in those Jesus myths, and that her first acting job was a maid. It'd probably be her last role as well. That when she did Gone with the Wind, she couldn't go to the premiere. It was whites only. When I said that was a long time ago, Miss McQueen, she smiled, placed her hand on my arm, and shook her head. No, honey, it's not. Okay, this is the last poem in the book, and it is called One Last Thing, and it was written for my wife, Rosanna. I know we talked about it, but we never really nailed it down. So put me in the field where we watch the sunrise in the lunar eclipse, where the goats and donkeys run wild like kids and colts. Put me in the field between the two oaks, and I can hear the pond frogs at night, where I can see the eagles in the treetops and watch the herons swoop in fishing for dinner. Where Pearl and Thelma would sit with us under the shade, where the deer would come at dusk and eat until dawn. Put me in the field so I may be the first to feel the morning breeze and hear the song of Chuck Will's widow and the first whippoorwill of spring. You hear that? Have them bring in a boulder from her land to mark the spot between the two oaks where I carved your name deep inside my heart. Thank you. This next one is called American Haiku, and that is by goat Agnes sticking out her tongue. Uh, you all know what a haiku is: 3 lines, 575, or close to it. I came up with a haiku sonnet, which is 14 lines, which is 4 haikus linked together, plus couplet, and then my normal haikus are a page long, 1 word per line. Okay, this one is for Agnes. The one thing about goats, though, before I get started, the one thing about goats is they're always looking for a place to die. So you have to be vigilant and work hard to keep them alive. For Agnes. In the end, she couldn't stand on her own. The final day, she rejected food, preferred to rest her head on our laps. Those big brown eyes looking up told the stories of being our first, of bottle fed, of motherhood. Her breathing slowed, and when she took her last breath, her brown eyes wouldn't close. She refused to go. The tears froze to my cheek. That was a haiku sonnet. This one is a little bit lighter. It's titled, "And Those Who Can Teach." The 6 o'clock news reported another school incident. Said a young boy was hanging out the elementary school window holding a sign that read, "We love you," written in perfect cursive that nobody teaches anymore. Local law called in the Federal Bureau of Investigation for further analysis. In my school, we never stopped teaching cursive, but anyway, that's it. Linda, how much time do I have? More time, I guess. Okay, this poem is titled Glasser's Motivation Theory, and it's from the book They Said I Wasn't College Material. Teachers didn't pull any punches in the 60s and 70s. Not everybody got a blue ribbon, and it was way before the happy face stickers were ever manufactured. Red ink was the color of the day. My grade card read like a juvenile rap sheet. Does not behave well in the cafeteria. Not working up to his potential. Will not take no for an answer. That one was handwritten in the comment section by my second grade teacher, Miss Blah, 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 bless her heart. I remember in junior high, my junior high bowling league, I did get an I tried trophy. Boy, that was a big deal. The high school counselor said when I asked about going to Berkeley that I should work construction or maybe a factory job building Fords. They said I wasn't college material, and I almost believed it. Yeah, this next one is it's kind of tough, even though I never met the man's wife. But this man came to me as an older adult. Nobody would hire this person probably to teach because at the time he was probably 69, and he was the best teacher I ever had. This is called Love Song for Kathy and Craig. Her ability to speak in complete sentences is almost gone. Holding hands, they went for a quiet walk along the shore of Table Rock Lake when she said, "What is your name?" He answered, "Craig." "What is yours?" "Kathy," she replied. It was that moment somewhere in the 1950s when she was a little girl on a puppy date that he will always hold in his heart. The conversation ended holding hands, as did the complete sentences. He said he remembers when they met, two kids working at Silver Dollar City, with the whole world laid out in front of them, the light in her eyes as if it would never end. Most of my students, and I always referred to them as children, even though they were in high school, and it wasn't a derogatory thing because I always believed that when we quit thinking of them as children, we cared less. And most of my kid poems, are have pretty adult themes. So I won't read those. All these kids were abused, and they all ended up in my class. Anyway, this poem dates back several years ago, and it was one of the first classes that I taught as a principal, I guess. It's called When Daryl Read His Poem. Daryl said attended 9 schools in 11 years. He told the class about being too fat, and sometimes his mom and him were too poor for Christmas. He said he's slower to learn and can't read like the other kids. He said in his poem he hadn't had a friend since 2nd grade. And that when he says his prayers, he asks God to send him one. He said when he believed in Santa and all that magic, it was always on his list. You could hear the second hand moving and tears starting to form when Sam from one of the richest families in town said, "Daryl, I will be your friend." And Sam went on to become a pastor. Well, let's see. This one is entitled and when the Beatles sang Let It Be, they called it quits. I discovered the blues in Brodigan in 1970. Bukowski somewhere down the road. I got confused when the Monkees played the Johnny Cash show, and if that wasn't enough, saw Jimmy and Janice die, left me picking the Star-Spangled Banner in my garage behind my neck. And at night, I blasted Janice crying the pain and hurt of a generation from a Sears and Roebuck stereo. My friend got hooked on methadone from a free clinic, smoked Mexican weed in his parents' basement, watched Nixon resign on the evening news, and when we turned off the black light, we knew it was over.
Okay. So you got one more, Scott.
Okay, I got one more here. When I was a construction worker, we worked down in Kansas by the Oklahoma line, and we built a nuclear power plant. And sometimes we would go to this cafe. It's called Comanche County. We eat fried chicken at the Tomahawk Cafe on Main Street behind the rows of dusty pickup trucks where everybody calls me Hoss. It is the Oklahoma is okay small town with oil wells at the edge of a one street where most of the houses are painted white and the chicken scratch at the edge of the road. Joe's barbershop next door has a back room for whiskey and poker with cheap cigar smoke that hangs over the game of 5-card stud. Jacks are better to get the local Indians drunk and take their government checks. Sam Two Feathers thinks it's still better than the reservation because the locals let him sleep it off on a bench behind the shop. Pat him on the back when he is broke, and that is still better than the alternative. The wake-up call is an old dog that licks his face good morning. Sam will sit up, stare down at the red dirt, trying to clear his head, then stagger down to the Tomahawk, where I will order him biscuits and red-eye gravy, and everybody will call him Chief. Deep lines in his face, weathered from the wind and broken promises.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you're not done yet, but I mean, we've been out that way. We were in Kimberling City. and drove those ridges, some of those ridges up there, and wow. And we couldn't believe how the locals drove the ridges.
Timberling City's probably about an hour from me.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't, I did, at one point I looked on the map to see where everything was, but I really appreciate the perspective you have on the piece of America that you are planted in. I really do. And I really do look forward to meeting you. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to hearing your encore as well. Now we come to the open mic portion of our evening. So David Fox, you are up next. Speak up.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, it's supposed to go every year down. That's the first line is the same as the title. So, if ever you're down, you really have to see God created you in His own image, the way He wanted you to be. And this one, prayer. Yes.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. Prayer is, there's something we all can afford. And
Its costs are
the
free.
costs are free. And found
And in place,
a
and
place
it pleases the Lord.
that pleases the Lord.
Okay, so read it again.
Prayer is something we all afford. The cost of free and
It pleases the Lord.
it pleases the Lord.
Job, John.
You did good, right?
Thank you. Okay, it looks like there's a theme developing here. So Jane Wyman, I know you're out there. You're up next. Yep. Is she unmuted? Jane?
Jane, I've done this.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is God? He is the face of a newborn child, a quiet whisper answering as you call out, the hand that holds yours when you are lonely, the roaring sound of a waterfall, the quiet babbling of a small brook, the smile on a person's face asking if they can help you, a crimson tree standing majestically tall as its leafy arms spread for birds, rain that quietly falls, white-capped mountains standing majestically tall. He is the sun rising each day. He is the flowers that bloom in spring, the snow quietly falling in the night, leaving a blanket of white, the beauty of a stark, barren silhouette of a bare tree against the snow, the first buds of spring, the hummingbird drinking water from a flower, yellow, white, and orange butterflies on the wing. God is all of this and more. Listen, and you will hear him speaking. Thank you very much.
Yay, good job. Okay, thank you, Jane. John Todris, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, and Happy New Year to everyone. And we are happy to say that in December we appeared live in
They
North.
exist.
This is sort of autobiographical, and people have told me they agree. Crunch time. Popcorn, trail mix, pumpkin seeds, pickles, apples, fresh snap peas, carrots, corn nuts, M&Ms, hard biscotti now and then. Cukes and chips, hard pizza crust, thick hard pretzels, how we'd lust. Espresso beans, crisp crackers too. Cheerios, charred barbecue. Celery sticks would cast a spell. Taco shells you'd crunch mock schnell. Candied almonds, burnt spaghetti, broccoli peanuts, don't forget. You crunched so hard you broke a tooth that would need to be reglued or maybe crowned. Courage, corral. You'd sometimes need a root canal. On ice cubes, please don't ever crunch. You just might miss some weeks of lunch.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm glad you're back. I'm sorry you couldn't sing tonight, but I'm really glad you were able to still maintain your sense of humor.
What else
And
is there? And morality.
it is a hoot to see you guys in person. It's awesome. Okay, I look forward to Julian Matthews in person as well. Julian is next up, and he's going to be followed by Maureen Spizak.
Oh, are you gonna go after me? Oh,
No, she goes around.
oh.
I know you're there, Elizabeth. I got you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you see this? Yeah.
It's
Map to your
beautiful.
heart. Okay. Map to your heart. It's been a while since you used me. You relied on me whenever you got lost, needed directions, was scrambling or late. Now I sit in this cold cavern, this gloveless glove compartment, loveless as the half-used box of 3-ply masks. Your map of old that you abandoned for the mobile apps of new. I even missed the way you got so mad trying to fold me back this way and that, and never got it right. I have all the creases to show for it. It was more a trauma for you than a trauma for me. I never once complained. I knew where to draw the line. It didn't matter how you faulted me, only that I was useful. A 2D representation of your 3D world, one dimension less, but many more colorful facets, solid lines, curved contours, and straight up and up grids. My borders and boundaries clearly demarcated. I never talked back, never told you you have arrived when you hadn't, or castigated you to take U-turns you didn't want to, or said, recalculating in such a condescending way. I never tracked your comings and goings. It was always just between you and me. I was discreet and private that way. What lies on the map stays on the map. The last time you pulled me out was when you lost internet connection and your battery was weak. You pulled over and found me, and I was so thrilled to be touched again, fondled by your warm hands like an old friend. You read me easily, just like remembering to ride a bicycle or tie a shoelace, and I got you to your destination on time. I was happy to be of service, finally. You didn't fold me right, though, again, but I didn't mind. To think you were so good at origami once. Kids are natural folders. Adults can't seem to shape the unfolding of their lives very well. It's an animal to wrestle with every day of their crumpled, creased lives, never being able to tell the mountain from the valley folds, forgetting that no matter where you go, wherever you end up, or even when you think you really have arrived, you will always still need a guide, a chart, something tangible, someone you can hold on to, like a reliable map to point you in the right direction and show you the way.
Thank you, Julian.
Thank you.
If I could just have you do my graphics, I would be in pig heaven. You do the most beautiful graphics. And I sit there and try to, move a thing across the page and it looks like a 4-year-old. A happy 4-year-old, but a 4-year-old nonetheless. Okay, thank you, Julian. Maureen, you are up next, followed by Elizabeth Ann Todris.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow, Saturday, January 27th, is Holocaust Remembrance Day. So my poem is based on a visit that I made a few years ago to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. And I start with a quote from Albert Einstein. The world is a dangerous place. not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. The Holocaust Museum. Rooms without right angles, windows of different sizes, cracked floor, uneven bricks. I am off balance, time and space reshaped. I hold a black and white photo, Anna, 26, Slovakia, my grandmother's name and country. I am told to follow her steps. As I walk through this memorial, I hear Hitler's voice, charismatic, mesmerizing. Today, it falls like an axe that can chop away the world in one blow. I move onward, cross a steel bridge, the walls, a waterfall of faces, men, women, children, all gone. I wend my way around the corner. Ahead of me stands a railroad car. Hats, shoes, toothbrushes litter the ground, whispering guilt. I step inside. Odors still cling to the walls, suffocating, stifling, sobbing souls around me. I look down at the card I hold. Anna had died en route to this camp.
Oh, thank you so much, Maureen. Okay, Miss Elizabeth Ann, followed by Emmy Sue.
Okay.
This was a poem I wrote in dedication to a fellow poet of mine who she does a lot of work in the city, and it's called Mesmerizing Magnetism. We love you like the moon, the perfect pearl suspended in the wide open sky. We love you like the stars, infinite, innumerable, sparkling rhinestone shards. We love you like the sun, the fiery sphere singeing all in its path. We love the flames in your eyes, the sparks from your sequins as you dance under sheer shimmering veil, floating like a cloud above your head and around your graceful form. Shimmying finger cymbals keeping the beat. Seasoning these nights of arts with allspice, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, you bring us back for more joy each time at every performance with your mesmerizing magnetism. Thank you.
Tell her that was about Evie Ivy.
Yes. That's for Evie Ivy.
Thank you so much. They're in, are you guys in Queens?
Physically, yes. My mind is somewhere else today, though.
I understand that part, but I just, someone just asked a question about where you actually were physically.
Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the icebergs are.
Okay, so Emmy Sue, you are up next, followed by Anne and possibly Joe. I don't know if Joe is reading tonight, but I throw him in there just in case. So Emmy Sue, you're up next.
Okay. Thank you. The anniversary. My mother died in January, in a year when record cold carried Long Island into stillness. We didn't bury her ashes right away. She stayed in my living room, awaiting spring's thaw. I greeted her each morning, nodded goodnight before turning in, made her no promises. Snow fell about every other day. Metal gray skies delivered silence, demanding nothing. The scrape of a shovel on the driveway, only that made sense. The work was to clear row after row, carve out a double-wide path, separating anchored from adrift, a space in which to breathe. Thanks.
Thank you, Emmy Sue. Emmy, you have a new book out, right?
It's coming out March 15th. Yeah.
Okay, so it's coming. It's marching through.
it
What's
is.
the title?
It's called Disconnects and Other Broken Threads.
Ooh, I can't wait to see what we have in common again. Okay. Thank
More
you
to
very much.
come. Thanks.
Okay, Miss Anne, are you reading solo tonight, or are you being followed by that lovely man of yours?
Oh, well, the lovely man is dead tired, so he is declining to read this evening. So
Thank you very
it's just me. Great evening of poetry. There's so many themes here, loss and redemption. Scott, wonderful reading. I didn't know whether to read something silly or serious. Having a hard time deciding on that. I have a poem about goats, which is kind of silly. And I have a slightly longer poem about teaching them during the pandemic.
Oh, go with the goats.
Okay. All right. This one I just found out is being published in the new edition of Rhyme and Punishment.
Oh, how nice. Congratulations.
And I did write this after a day of teaching. It's called Goat Rodeo. I need a little goat herd to ring a little bell and round up mangy critters who make life a living hell. Oh, where's that little goat herd? I hope he won't be late. Today's been one goat rodeo. It's time to shut the gate.
Thank you very much. I was at our local high school today, and I hear you.
Yeah, I was teaching high school at the time.
I'll bet. Okay, so I'm sorry, I did not say who was up next. Margaret, you are up next, and you are followed by Embonisi Zamcanto Gabadella.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you,
You're
Scott. Thank you, everybody who's read so far in the open mic. This is titled His Bracelet. On the outside, it appeared like any other bracelet would. Black woven roped material crocheted to fit his wrists perfect. But this present in itself, a hidden treasure. The image once lived only in his heart, now worn outside to his arm as he performs. He carries it with him everywhere. One tiny bead attached in the middle looks like a small stone, but this microscopic gem holds a kaleidoscope of memories. Trevor holds it up towards light, sees a picture inside, a photograph of him with his late mom, Doris, his favorite picture. This cherished gift created by a fan, he helped get past a bad breakup. Kendra now returns the love, a frequent attendee to his shows. She knows he holds his mother's love, kept only an arm's reach away. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, Embonisi Zamcanto Gabadella. And I remembered it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a new poem, but I wasn't sure. So please bear with me
always.
because I don't know how to say it, but I will say it. This is the very dawn of promise. That when the sun threatens to rise, you do not treat it as if it's sulfur meant to burn you, but that each ray inside it is a promise of baptism, and that there is no hell inside the sun, but fuel needed to keep the pearly gates held together. At dawn, we are told the dew disappears, but who in their right minds blames the sun when it too cries raindrops because it lost its rays to the grass? When you are promised dawn, you wake up eager for sunrise, not because you have the voice to criticize what melted the grass, but because for once you realize the grass needed the sun to grow. Dawn is for birds, and you too, because your wings are created to fly past jumbo jets in the morning and dry up the dew with their jet blast before hissing a newly born sky. A dawn promised with all the love of the universe intention. It creates the stars that avoid black holes. Like to be swallowed up whole is a betrayal of the universe's ancestors. The very dawn of promise is the denial of a lie. And when the truth sets you free, even the bailiff's children get a pass for being a nuisance that day. I remember when I promised my mother dawn, and she woke up with my umbilical cord strewn across her lawn like a black mamba whose head she wanted to bash in, until she realized that I snuck in that umbilical cord that very same night, so she can remember that we were tied by the same rope that could have accidentally hung my ancestors. When dawn touches grass with dew, no wetness of the morning is overdue. Each drop is exactly on time. To each blade of grass is as fleeting as you when you shower in the greatness of time. And each second hand is a promise of dawn that fractures sunlight into a taste of a million rays. And you are a promise of a kiss by one of those rays of each moment you try to kiss the sun with. And each kiss is a dawn of the largest of proportions, a serving of the god of light on a plate made of rays connected together like cobwebs of luminous song. Zomkond.
Wow. Thank you so much. When you read, you make this particular poem, I can picture, I don't know where you were when you wrote this, whether you were in your mind's eye or whether you were sitting in the grass at home or whether you were where you are right now, but I could see all the blades of grass.
I wrote it about 2 hours ago.
No.
Yeah.
Did you really? So what were you picturing?
I was just picturing God and what God would say to me if I was sitting on a blade of grass.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Okay, Paul Corman Roberts, you are up next, followed by. Oh, okay, Paul Corman Roberts is gone. J.R. Turek,
think
you
Paul
are
had-
up next.
I'm sorry.
What? He's not gone? Make it. Is Paul still there?
He's not on my list.
Okay. So then JR is next, correct?
Well, you've got JR.
I know who I've got.
Okay.
JR is next. Okay. Go, Judy.
I love that you debate over me. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, David. And thank you, Scott. I remember the first time I heard Scott read. It was Spellfest. It was several years ago. And it was amazing because we could not hear him reading because the donkeys were braying in the background so loud that we couldn't hear him. It's like, you know, he says, I have to feed them to make them quiet. And so, and over time between the donkeys and the goats, I actually wrote a poem. Not that living on Long Island is like living on 42nd Street in Times Square, but the difference of farm and ranch and that kind of life. And I can't find it. And so I love the poem, can't find it. But so we're gonna do poetry roulette from Dog Speak. So I'm gonna ask Scott to pick a number from 1 to 24, and we're gonna do that. 3. Okay. See, I don't read lips, but I can read numbers, so I think I'm good here. Okay. Hour 3. Daily news. These are in the voice of dogs, by the way. Daily news. You've got your newspaper. Now get my leash. Coffee for you, water for me, and let's go get my news. We are going to the park. No rain today, sunny skies, no fleas, no flies, and friends all around. Sniff, sniff. Chance was here. Sniff, sniff. And so was Tommy, but they're gone. See, you take too long getting ready. No one here cares what you're wearing. Oh, Big Boy Xerox had barbecue chicken last night. Lucky him, but I had French fries. Maybe just a little too much salt. Can I have some water, please? Thanks. Okay, gotta run and play. All my foodie friends are here. Hershey and Ruffles, Klondike and Snickers, Snapple, Munchkin and Keebler, and that giant gumball, though he is round and sweet. We're at the dog park. Play, 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 sniff, sniff, sniff. What a wonderful life. A ball, a stick, my favorite, a frisbee, all shapes and sizes, all colors and breeds, all joyous together. Hey, humans, are you taking notes? Okay. Tired now. Home, please. Bed, sleep. Will you carry me? Sniff, sniff. Here, you need some kisses. Thank you.
Aw, and I know how big those dogs are.
Yeah.
Asking you to carry them? Uh-huh. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Miss Kathy Donnelly, followed by Jack Varnell, if you are still here. Okay, so Kathy Donnelly, you are up next.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Linda. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here clean and dressed.
So I see. All right. So this is a poem sort of inspired by a mistake I made one day, and then I just kind of got into it. It's called In the Kitchen. I sprinkled oregano on my oatmeal, stirred flour into my green tea. I spread mustard, same color, on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, plopped hummus into my fruit smoothie, squirted chocolate on my soy dog. I poured olive oil onto dishes for washing, barefoot dropped a glass that shattered. I am having a bad day. I want to trust you.
I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or not, but I get that. That's great and very visual. Thank you.
I was going to
Okay.
call it, I was going to call it preoccupied, but
I just love it.
thank you, Linda.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Jack Varnell, welcome to Northport.
Greetings. Hello. How's everybody? I hope you're well. Scott, wonderful as always, my friend. I am going to read a piece called Entropy, if I can find one of the right tabs here. Okay. Entropy. I've become to be hopeless again. I've begun to be hopeless again because the world has a reversed polarity. We are becoming undone. All progress has screeched in pain to a grinding halt, and we race forward as if we escaped. I see that there will be surprises, and there are surprises. The unexpected, the unbelievable, they walk upright in the daylight. The egos and the greedy do not set off the alarms, but the sheep is used to a cry, and they try to escape on their way to slaughter. The masses, the true power, they've been blinded by the shimmer of fool's gold. A late December day once celebrated the birth of a savior, and now it begins a frenzy in November, offering Black Fridays and Cyber Mondays. My advice, invest in Kevlar. Store your treasures in your mattress and in your heart. pay off the new car that they said you could never afford. I think I'm more blinded than sheep from all the acid that got thrown in her face. I got confused, y'all. Sorry. I went backwards. My bad.
No, you're good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
Thank
Jack,
you.
where are you from?
I am in close to Destin, Florida, and I can read this last paragraph. I got confused and missed it. Pay off the
Okay.
new car. Okay, here we go. Store your treasure in your mattress and in your heart. Pay off the new car that they said you could afford last week. Sell the new house before the next crash, because the body cameras being used to build a database of threats to the state will not remove Lady Justice's blindfold. She is now much more blinded than sheep from the acid that's been thrown in her face. Oh, yes, I have begun to be hopeless again. And sorry, I can't read a damn poem for saving myself.
Jack, it's okay. We
Thank
love
you.
you. Anyway. You can always make a mistake with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and the event itself. And I will be back. Thanks. Keep me on the invite list.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to call to the mic now, my beloved David Dickman.
Yesterday would have been my dad's 100th birthday. This was written from a story he would tell on himself. Dooryard Kingdom. The dooryard fiefdom was not overlarge, for the 4-year-old princeling left in charge. The barn to the west, garage to the south, town road bordered the east, and castle the north. Southwest was the smithy, the king's domain. This still only child soon proved a tyrant, ruling the dooryard as regent aspirant. He ordered about the chickens and ducks, raising a cacophony of squawks and clucks. No uncertain terms, this was his domain. There was that one hen who would simply not mind, not heeding his edicts, no matter what kind. Our prince fetched that rope-handled wooden pail, hen to serve penance in the overturned jail, which became that poor hen's final domain. When our fair prince was called for his meal, the hen stayed imprisoned. None heard it squeal. The poor hen was roasted long before its time, without benefit of sage or thyme. The prince earned a drubbing that paled his bane.
Thank you. I wish you could have known my father-in-law, who said very little, but when he spoke, everybody listened. Okay, so it's my turn before I call Scott back up. And this poem is dedicated to David Dickman. It's called That Face. For the love of my life, Valentine's Day 2021. We take them often when we are out on the road. Breakfast photos, lunch, dinner. Usually the star is our meal. But this time, and every time we travel now, there is one of these for each of us. You usually capture a grumpy face, like I ate a lemon or been interrupted in a holy ritual. But what I get shining at me with every meal is that face, projecting so much more than caffeination. Thank you. Okay, so Scott, you are up next. You can bring us home. Oh, before you speak, I just want to let you know, this is to remind you that next month is Valentine's month, and we have Sweetheart Poets coming to read. Anne and Joe Cohn will be reading. I don't know if they're going to be live or if they're going to be virtual, but no matter what they are, you will be amused and you will enjoy them. Okay, Scott, your turn.
I have a question. Is Mary Ann gonna read? Did you have a poem, Mary Ann?
Mary Ann, thank you, thank you, thank you. Boy, Scott, you're a good teacher. Yes, Mary Ann's gonna. Yep, thank you. Mary Ann, you are up next.
Thank you, Scott. That was really kind of you, and great to see you, Linda, and poet friends. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to wish you all Happy New Year and to share with you a poem that comes from my new home in Toronto. I've recently relocated after 22 years on the Dutch Caribbean island of St. Martin. Every week, we take a nature walk beside the Humber River with our students. And the other week, we saw the remains of a deer that had been brought down by a coyote. And I came away from the park with this poem called The Generosity of Death. In the hungry cold after Christmas, the silvered hair of the deer clings to the margins of a muddy pool, thick and dark as unmilked espresso, torn from a blood-stained flank whose bones lie weeping on the viscous shore, not yet as brittle as the chamomile burrs and sepia grasses that cushion the forest floor. You might be tempted to think that only the skeleton of the nimble ruminant who unwisely lowered her guard to an interloper remains to sadden the eyes of passers-by, but I have seen the woods are rich with the generosity of death. For the sated coyotes still leave their grateful footprints in the matted snow. Fat ravens and crows circle contentedly, and if you raise a stick to prod a little, you will see mice have found a warm cul-de-sac, while unnamed microscopia swarm their newest premises. In an unquestioned circle of life in which there is nothing to guard or protect for another day that will not come, so it also must be for you and me. When your body returns to its original soil, know that I will celebrate your memory the way comets celebrate the night sky, that it may nourish minds and hearts beyond our simple quotidian paths and soar above the forest with the durable kindness of summer eagles and the bountiful knowledge of that ever beneficent white-tailed deer. Thank you, poet friends.
Oh, beautiful. So beautiful. Mary Ann, how are you doing in your new digs?
Bearing up. I'm a little chilly and it's a little dark, but besides that, I have a lovely, lovely upper elementary class, which is really the level of Montessori teaching that I love. And I'm making myself at home again.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Two things. Please have them enter the contest this year.
I will.
And then the other thing is a total recommendation. There is something called 32 Below. It's an under layer of clothing, and it works.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I'm on it.
It works. Okay, Scott, thank you so much for pointing out that I missed Mary Ann. You are up.
I will say you're the best librarian that I've ever had in school. So even though you didn't work for me, it would have been delightful. I've got two more. This poem is about my father. My father would have been 101, I believe. He did not participate in World War II. And because of that, because of going 4F, it took a toll on him. That generation, of course, and because of that, it took a toll on my family. This is called The Greatest Generation Goes to War. Tom Brokaw said you were from the greatest generation, but you went 4F instead of being inducted with your brothers. Instead of storming the beach at Normandy, the Army said not acceptable for military service. You were not good enough to be the first to die when they dropped the ramp. The greatest generation didn't talk about the war, and your war stories were never discussed. You disappeared for weeks on induction day, ever dropped the ramp to hit the beach, or ever stopped to let others aboard, but spent the next 50 years going 4F, drowning in the land of sky blue waters. Most days after work, wrapping yourself around a can or bottle, trying to forget, or was it to remember? Every other Saturday, we would get a haircut at Joe's and stop at the hangout bar for a couple. You sat at the table when you had me go along. Wasn't right for a kid to sit at the bar, you'd say. At age 7, I asked you once, Daddy, what did you do in the war? You swirled your beer in the glass, those blue eyes narrowed, looking right through me, drank it down and ordered another, asked if I wanted a Coke, and don't tell your mother we were here. They say you never asked the greatest generation about the war, and the ones that made it back will take their stories to their grave, and the ones that never made it will do the same every single day. I'm going to close with this one. We've all seen homeless people sitting under the overpasses and such, or standing on the street corner. But you never see them where I live. I live on a dirt road, and at the end of the dirt road, there is a blacktop. And one day when I came home from work, there was looked like an ancient old lady sitting there in a camp chair with bags around her. It didn't fit the area at all. Anyway, this is called Down a Redneck Dirt Road. Where the dirt meets the blacktop, Donna has a camo tarp stretched over her life of bags and boxes and all she could carry. This is not common in Ozark County. Nobody goes homeless on a redneck dirt road, but Donna did at age 64 years and 80 pounds. I took her bottled water and asked her what happened. She cried and told me the stories of everything she had lost in the last 30 years. Her wrong, but those that had done her wrong, but she said she believed in angels and God and saints, and God had a plan. I asked her if she could call someone. I'm out of minutes, she said. Bobby is supposed to pick me up. I said, you can use mine if you like. She looked away. An SUV drove by and honked. If you love Jesus, she yelled. Donna didn't panhandle and didn't have a sign with anything will help. She just sat in a camp chair on a redneck dirt road with worn out dreams, infected blisters on her ankles, paperback in her lap, waiting for angels, waiting for saints, waiting for Bobby. And tonight it is going to rain. Thank you, Linda.
I'm coming back. I can't watch you if I'm standing at the podium, so I wanted to see you. And thank you so much for your big heart. And I think I would have had a lot of fun working for you too.
Yes, I think it would have been fun.
I was a troublemaker, but for the best possible reasons. Oh wait, I'm still a troublemaker. Okay, so could we just everybody, if you're muted, unmute, and could we just have a round of applause for each other, please? Like noisy ones.
Pleasure.
Thank you to all who came tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of next month. Meanwhile, have a great month.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Good.
Good night.